Hi, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way. Here is a sneak peek of the layout I've produced using the uniquely creative Guns N' Roses paper, which is a very Australian, it's got koalas and gum leaves and things in beautiful greens and pinks. So this is the process video that I've just finished, and it shows the layout. I have also included in this process how to make this flap, so you can add extra photographs. And with this particular one, I have actually used my 6x6 squares just for a change, so I could actually put larger photographs in. So here's the layout, so I hope you join us for the rest of the process. Hi everybody, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way. I'm just going to start another Project Life process video. This particular one will have extra pages because it was, I'm actually making it for a photo shoot, so I've got extra photos to put in. Don't forget, I do have a Facebook group called Project Life Deb's Way group, as well as my YouTube videos. So please come over and join and check us out. And don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. It just helps with the process of making videos if I know what your thoughts are. Now, the kit that I am using is from Uniquely Creative, which is an Australian firm. They make very, very high quality, thick papers. They're very similar to Minty papers, where they have a lot of cutouts, and they have the big roses and small roses. They also have a sheet here with cutouts. They have another sheet here as well too. They have an A4 sheet which they produce, which you can get off of their website, as well as their papers, that they do cutouts, which are really fantastic, and they're not very expensive, so it's quite economical to do. So what I have done with these papers, I have actually done a lot of cutting out. I've cut my words, bits, I've cut quite a few of the small flowers and etc. I actually bought the Uniquely Creative kit, which came with flowers and dyes and things. I've put a few doilies in there as well. The kit comes with cutouts, which are here, which I may use. So I just keep them all in a little container here, so it keeps them all neat and tidy while I'm doing my process. Now the papers are, you've got some roses and some pink. You've got a lovely spot. I don't particularly like the check, but some people do. You've got your triangles, and also this lovely paper here with a kookaburra and etc. on. You've got a wonderful stripe, which of course has the large roses, which I find are a bit big for Project Life, but they're good for scrapbooking. They also have a spot with a lovely sort of a flock pattern, which we can use. Now, I did find the same with Minty papers. They don't normally have enough of the plain papers, but that's easy to fix because I've just gone into my cache of other kits where I've had leftover papers, and I've just gone through and I've found some papers which I can use for my layering and putting underneath and etc., which leaves, when you've got graphics and things that you want to use on your other pages and you don't particularly want to cut them off, you can actually use these papers here. So that's just another little tiny hint that you can actually use up some of your scrap paper. So I've just gone through and found colours that coordinate with the colours of the kit to actually do that. So I'm going to get on and show you how I'm going to make my cards. Before we start our first card, I took a while to decide which colour to use for my edging, because my photographs are indoors and outdoors, I had to be very careful with the colours because some of them are very muted and the other ones are very bright from the outside photo shoot. So I finally decided on a beautiful gummy green that makes things pop but not too much, and a pink to do my flowers with. Now I do have 2 applicators. Now I always find for my edging, I prefer these because they give you a much crisper around the edge. The reason being is I quite often do a lot of layering, and if you had full blending in, you would lose your paper. So that's what I've done there to give me that crisp edging. But for my flowers, these brushes are amazing because they're lovely and soft. You can do them in a circular motion and they will just give you a lovely edge, as you can see here. And also if you do blending, they really do give you a beautiful blending. So each brush has its own uses, and I tend to use these for my blending and I use these ones for my edging, and I have lots of different sponges which go with each pad that I've collected over the years. So I've edged all of my cards except for the white cardstock. So now we'll start building. I've got some of my full cards are in the white basil, but quite some of my other full cards are done in cards, so we'll have to follow each card as we go for your measurements. Now this one has a 6x4 white cardstock, and then I have a very, very small 1/8 border all the round, and to get this it's 1/16 of a border. Yes, it is. It's 1/16. So it will be 5 5/8 by 3 5/8, which just gives you that tiny little border all the way around. Now, if you were doing that, an easy way to cut this is to, if you're not sure, is to cut your 6x4 card and then just come into your trimmer and cut off 1/8 of an inch one side, 1/8 of an inch off the other, 1/8 of an inch off this side, and 1/8 of an inch off that side, and you'll end up with a 1/16 all the way round your border. The reason why I've done this, I want my photographs to be as true to the 3x4s and the 4x6s that I can possibly get. So, being a 1/16 of an 1/8, it's very hard to get these nice and straight. Just eyeball it on. Okay, and I've edged this one. And this card came from where the big flowers were. Now, always make sure if you're using stripes, they all run the same way through the whole layout. Otherwise, so I've always got my stripes going sideways. Now, once again, I have just got, I'm doing 1/8 of an inch border there. So that will work out at 5 3/4. So it's 5 3/4 by 3 1/4. But that doesn't have to be exact. You can just have a strip and just use that. Now what I've got here is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat, so you can actually see what I'm doing here. That's great. So I've just done a little square, a 2x2 square of the pink spot. So I'm just layering that in once again. Just putting it up into the top corner so that you've got your borders working down. Now we're going to put our photo mat down in the bottom, and you can actually see I've got an even border either so of course you can put a true 3x4 photograph onto this sheet. Now I have got my flower, which I want to just pop at the top. Like so. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the darker we'll just pop that there. Now I also, in this kit came just some labels, so I've just chopped it in half so I could use the other half elsewhere to match up. So I'm going to butt that right up into this before I put my flower down. It just makes an economical use of your bits and bobs. And also gives somebody a little bit of a journaling spot that they can use. Now I've made a decision. I am going to cut that leaf. Down a fraction. Now I want to show that just above. There we go. And then this little one here, I will just get some of my wet glue. And stick my leaf down. So very easily, because I had everything prepared beforehand, we have finished our first card with our first 3x4 photograph. Our next card is the top left hand corner, which I've used the spare sheet of paper that I got from another kit, so I've just sort of cut a piece out, which is my 6x4. This one here is 5 3/4 by 2, which came from the rose pattern, just a spot. So this one here, I want just over in the left hand corner, once again, giving just a little bit of a border, and I've thought the writing was nice there. Now this piece here just comes over the pink, and this size here is 5 1/2 by 2 5/8, or you could do it 2 by 3. It doesn't really matter whether your width is that little bit more. So we just pop that down as a layering piece, and once again this green was just a piece that I got out of some spare stock. And once again, I've laid that border so that I have an even border across here. Now this photo mat is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, so you can have a true 3 by 4 photograph in this. Now this is going to go just slightly up from the bottom. I won't stick it down firmly yet because I want my roses to go up the top here, like so, and then I want the little scroll just down the bottom. So I think with this one I may actually because I've got a portrait here of my son holding the baby, so I think I might just pop that on a bit of at the top instead of laying it flat. I'm going to take that to the top. I am going to cut that bud off. So that sort of lays up a bit, but this will lay flat, but it gives room for the photograph to go underneath. Now with this one, I've made sure my tape is far enough down that when I attach it, the photograph can still go underneath there, like so. And there we have our next card finished and complete. Okay, now we're on to our 3 by 4 cards. Now with this particular one, I am doing 3 with photographs and 1 with eye candy. So we'll start from our top card, which is our 3 by 4, which is a pink spot. Then this card here, I just cut from here, which is the checker pattern. So then I've edged all my cards in green. So that is my 3 by 4. I also have this card here is a 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. In other words, I've just taken a 16th off of here and a 16th off of here just to give me that 16th of an inch of a border on that card. And then I've cut this one here is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, which once again just will give you a little tiny border and give you your photo mat. And this one is exactly the same, except I've used the green that I've bought. And if you remember, I had some extra pink. If I wasn't using my whole kit for another layout, I would have used the spot. But because I'm spreading it between 2, I just thought, seeing this one was at the back and wasn't really a show card, I could use a similar pink. So once again, I've edged that with green, and it's got a 16th of an inch border all the way around. If you don't want to do that, you could just use your green if you didn't want. It's just that sometimes I find with a softer you need more colours. So there we go. So this one here is slightly different. I've got a slightly smaller photo card because I know I've got the two little girls with their feet, so I know it's a fairly short photograph, so I can actually make it slightly smaller. So this is 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. Now what I've done there, I've got my 3x4 card. This one here again just has that 1/16 of an inch border, which is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. Now this one here was on the back of the pink spot, and it's 2 5/8 by 1 5/8. I just want to cover this little bit of a pattern up here, so I thought the rose pattern looked quite nice, and I've really edged it dark. If you wanted another photo mat, because this one is going down the bottom here, you could just put another one of these cards on here just to match up. But because I wanted a slightly smaller photograph, I'm popping that there, and then I'm going to pop this one just over the top like that, and it just gives it a little bit more detail. So I've got my cards like that now, and I'll be having a filler card here. Now my filler card, I have got one of my cutout flowers, a few leaves. This came with the kit, but you could just find a little flag or something like that. So what I've got is my 3x4, which is the green card. Once again, I've got my stripe running acrossways, which is 4 5/8 by 3 5/8. Which gives, once again, you're following the same border all the way through. Now I cut a tiny little bit of pink here to just pop here, and I've done it quite green to actually really show up. I really don't want that to blend in. I'm going to stick this one down again. Now I decided with this to use some of my triangles, because they do make an interesting feature, and then I'm going to put the flowers on top with my little thing like this here. So they do actually do a little feature. Now my daughter-in-law loves bling, so I have got some, decided on these greeny coloured little diamantes. So I'm going to pick each one up. I'm just going to pop into my little harlequin triangles. Like so. Okay, there we go. We've got all our little diamantes on there again. So we're going to stick that down. So with these strips, I just make it to whatever the triangles are going to be. So I sort of make the card around the triangles. So we just pop that on the card like so. Now I just want my little flowers here. I'll stick those on as well. And I've edged my flowers with my pink and my green. I'm going to add just a few leaves dotted around, which I'll use my wet glue for. This is where all those little leaves and things from those cut-apart sheets, which are really, really good. Now this one here, I'm going to put up here. Now if you find you've got a leaf which is in the way, just cut him out. So there we go. I'm going to stick my little tag on. Like so. And I think I might put a little brad in there. Now I'm just attaching my brad, which I have one of these fantastic mats from IKEA. So you can just poke your little brad through, turn it over. Put some tape on the back so it doesn't catch when you put it through. And there we have our fantastic little eye candy card. So there we have our 4 3x4 cards all ready to go. Now we're on to the top left hand, right hand corner on the left hand page, which has a white 6x4. Then I've got a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 card, which I've edged in green to produce our foundation card, which goes on to our sheet like so. Now I have used a couple of small little doilies, and there also came a little round card which I'm going to leave for my daughter-in-law to fill out, to sort of explain what the layout is all about. So I'm putting that right in the middle of the doily like so. Now just very quickly, because I've got my little Harlow card which I've already put my little bits on, because I want the doily underneath, but I want enough room to be able to put everyday story in. So I'll just angle where I need my doily to go. If you can ever get these tiny doilies, they are really, really cute. If you can't find them, if you've got a die cutter, you could actually die cut some yourself. So we'll put our doily just over to the left. I don't like anything central, like so. And now we'll stick our harlequin on. I'll put the tape down the bottom Whoever designed these papers did a great job, because these triangles just fit in beautifully for what I want. So we'll pop those in like so. Now, the most important thing are these, so I'm going to put them in, and I've really edged these very heavily with green. I did cut them down slightly to fit what I want. So what I'm going to do here, I just want to edge this with a few flowers. It looks to me like I have made a booby. We'll just bring my doily over slightly. Thank goodness that covers that little rip that I did on my doily. Okay, there we go. We'll put our doily a little bit further over so I can tuck these cards underneath. Once again, I've edged these with my pink and my green. And as you will notice, I've just put a little bit of tape on this round circle so that I can actually get my roses underneath. As I said, you might think my table was very nice and clean, but if you saw the full table, you would see what a mess it does get in by the time I'm finished doing these layouts. Okay, we'll put that in there. Now I just want this one to be just tucked up underneath. So that's why I left my tape right down the bottom, so I've got room to maneuver all of these layers into place. So I'm just tucking that one over. And then I want my kookaburra and his branch just to go underneath. As I said, you could, if you went into Australia, you could actually leave your little kookaburra off, because it does look nice. I would just put an extra leaf like that, and then you'd be actually finished. And I will lay all these down. So there we have our eye candy card. Now on to our last of our left hand side. I've got a 6x4, which was the odd sheet that I had actually got out of all my bits and bobs. I cut some of the rose flower, which I've actually done quite hard in green, which is 3 3/4 inches, because this particular photograph I can do as a square, like an Instagram photograph. So I'm going to take that opportunity. So I'm just going to pop that up top like so. Then I've cut from my green, which I didn't have quite enough, so I've just pieced 2 pieces together. This one is 3.5, so it just has that little border all the way around. Then I have my photo mat, which is 3 1/4 inches. So we can just pop that on with just a slight bit of an extra green border around. Now I cut some of these flowers here from the sheet here, which is just here. I cut it from, and I cut off the extra leaves at the top there, and that will fit just down the bottom here, and I want it slightly offset because I want my life here. And I have used a few little bits and bobs like the tickets that they had, so I could have a ticket poking out and one of the tags like so. Yeah, like so, just to cover up some of that writing there. So there we have our photograph and everything done. So what we will do is, once again as normal, just put your tape down the bottom. Yeah, so that it leaves you wriggle room to put all your bits and bobs. Put your life sign in. And then I'm just going to arrange this so this is just popping up above the flowers. So put a bit of tape down the bottom just to keep it attached. And then my ticket, I want poking up as well. So there we have our card. So now we have completely finished one side of our layout, and here it is here, completely finished except for the photographs and the journaling, which needs to go in some of the spots. So there is quite a bit of journaling that we can do. So there's some here, and you can put commentation on some of the photographs here and here as well. So now we are going to go on to our right hand side, which from now on we will be doing 6x6s in the squares. Now we're on to our first of our 6x6s. So I've done from one of the spare greens that I have done a 6x6, and then out of the spludgy green card that I had, Now I did run out of this card here, so I just went to my stock and just found some other green card that was very, very similar. I said it's only for backing, so it's not that important. So this one here is 5 3/4 square. And it's a good way of using some of your scrap papers up that you can, and that keeps your expensive papers that you've bought for your kit. So I have in my stash, I keep a big pile of papers that I might have 1 or 2 sheets left over from kits, and I'll just put them into greens, oranges, and etc. So whenever I need cardstock, I can just go and hunt for what I need. Now this little piece here is 1.5 by 5.5, and I want this just down the bottom so that the wording and stuff is at the top. Now this little frame, you could make this slightly bigger. You could actually take it right up to the edges, but I've got a photograph that I can cut down to fit this size. And if you want to know how to print photographs, I do have a video on printing up your photographs to how to size them on your desktop using Publisher. And etc. So I'm going to make this 5 1/4 by 3 3/4 because I just want that in the middle, like so. Now I've got a little celebrate here, which I want just over into the corner, just to celebrate the 2 little girls. So these are the pictures that I cut from this sheet here, and as you can tell, I've cut quite a bit off to make it actually here it is here. It's this one here. So you can actually see I've cut quite a bit off to make it fit nicely, and because it wasn't dark enough to make it pop from the pink, I've actually added a little bit of the extra pink around the edges to just make it pop out, and I've done the same with this one here. So this is going to go here, so it just goes over the edge of the photograph. I may even poke it down just a tiny bit, and this one I want just up over the top, whereupon I will just poke some of the spare leaves that I've got in like so. So I'm just going to attach this, and then anything hanging over I will just cut off. Like so. I may even leave, I think I prefer the flower underneath to on top. So I'm going to pop that underneath. It just shows how sometimes by layering, so I'm just going to snip a little bit more of that off. Go there. Just put some of my wet glue onto those spare leaves that I've cut. And of course, once you finish this and you have leaves and things left over, well, you can put them into your stash. And there we have our finished card. So what I will do with this is just snip off bits, and you can put your nice photograph into that spot. Now we're on to our next card, and as you can tell, I was going to do a bit of stenciling, but I didn't actually like it, so I'm turning it down to the bottom so we can't physically see it, so I don't waste any paper, because it was going to be up in the top, but I really didn't like the way it was looking, so I'll just cover it up. Okay, so there goes my pink spot. Now the pink spot was 5 3/4 square. Now I have cut a piece of the green paper, and that is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and this is going to go down the bottom. Now make sure when you do this one that you leave your tape down the center, because you're going to be tucking things behind. So we'll just pop that down the bottom. Now I've got my little doily, which I want just tucked in the middle. Yes, I know that's unusual for me, but there we go. I do it occasionally. Now, I also have a photo mat, which is 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. On here. Once again, if you wanted it slightly larger, you could do it without the green mat, but I preferred that. Now on here, I want to put one of my pink roses here. I have got a couple of the smaller pinkies, which I just want to sort of lay underneath with another one on the top. I want the leaf just bending away. Top here, and I want this one just poke out at the side, and have another one just poking out like so until it looks right. I also have this wonderful sign here, which I want to just put up the top here, and I'm hiding that edge just underneath like so. And looking at this, I must admit, I do think I'm going to move that doily. Oop. Oh, hardware I've ripped. I'm going to move that doily slightly across. Okay, so let us finish constructing here. I'm going to pop that one just underneath. So it's just popping out. I think instead of having an extra flower, I might just put an extra leaf in, because I really think that second flower is a bit too much, and point that upwards. Then we can put our flower in, tuck our leaf underneath. I want my wonderful tag just poked in. I want a bit of that cut off. And I'll put a bit of that underneath. Just attach it so we can still get our photograph underneath. And I think I will and there we have our next card finished. A few of these cards are really easy to do. All it is a 6x6, a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then your 5 1/2 photo mat, and do a square photograph. It's because this one's having a family group shot, I'll actually, and it was a landscape, I can actually chop the edges off and blow them up slightly so that we just have a larger group here. If you didn't want to do that, you could put just your photograph up the top and just put a few flowers and things down the bottom to help with that, or you could leave a journaling spot that you could do some journaling with as well. That would work as well. So that is that one done. I also have another one of these exactly the same. All it is your 5 3/4. Once again, the same size, 5 1/2 for your mat. And all you need to do with that is just go around your edges of this one card and stick them down, and you've ended up with two very, very quick and easy cards. On to our next card, which is your green spot, which is your 6x6. And I have here a 5 1/2 by 3 1/2 of the stripe running acrosswards. One of your green sheets, which is a 5 3/4, and I've just cut about 2 1/2 inches. You can cut more if you want, but this one goes down first. And I want this on the left-hand side as close, so it's just got a tiny little border on the side. And then what will happen is this one, I want the tiny little border the same. And I've edged these all again in green. like so. So you can actually see how the layering is going. Now I've got, once again, my Harlequin pattern here. So we're going to lay that down. Keeping your little borders. Now I've got a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat here, and I've just edged it so it's got a little mat which is 1/4 inch bigger. So it's a 4 1/2 by 3 1/2, so that you've got that little border all around. So we'll just put our photo mat on our piece. Don't forget, a lot of these cutout pieces are all coming out of the cardstock, which is leftovers from the bigger cutting that you're doing. So we just lay that down like so. Then I'm just going to introduce my little flowers here at the bottom. So this one's going to go on first, and if you find that your diamantes are making it awkward, just pick them off. I'm just going to make that a little bit darker to stand out from the other rows there. Something doesn't look right, just have a bit of a snip and cut until it does look right. Get in there. And then I have this tiny little saying that came in with the cutout sheets. So once again, I've made sure that I can fit my photograph underneath. And there we have our next layered card. So here is our right hand page done with your 6 by 6 squares. And don't forget, I will be having a set of photographs that will fold open from here, so that it folds open. You can actually add an extra 4 photographs. So I will be using the same 6 by 6, because otherwise you can only have your fold to a batch of photographs. You can't have your fold coming halfway through your photographs. So it's just the way that this one has worked. So now we do our other set of 4 cards. As you know, one of those set was the large photo mat that we made, so that's on the other side. On to our next card. So we have got our pink spot, we've got our stripe, which is a 4 by 5 5/8. But once again, it is just, if you did your 4 by 6 and just took off a smidgen, you would actually get the size. So let us tape this down. Now, once again, this is for a very large family photo. So I have actually done the photo mat here just a little bit smaller but wider, because it was a group photograph. So this basically is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I could do it wider if I wanted to, but this just actually fits the photograph that I am using. Or you could use a 4 by 6. That would work as well. So I'm just going to pop that in here, making sure I've got tuck-in area here. What I'm going to do here, because I want a bit of a journaling spot, so I'm just going to pop one of the squares that came with the cutout here. And I'm going to pop this here because I've got one on the other page, so this will match up. Now with my flowers, I've just got a few little cutouts here. So I'm going to because the group will be standing above here, I can put some flowers over the top of the picture here. So I'm not very happy with that grouping. Just going to try a different grouping of roses here. So I'm going to cut so I'm just going to cut these little leaves out. I'll just make that bud a bit better. This can go here. So I can tuck the these little florals or leaves just to add a little bit more. And there we have our cut. So I'm going to stick this all down now. I sort of know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's get our journeying spot in. Get our little tuck our flowers in. Tuck these in. I'll just use some of my wet glue for this. We'll pop our ticket in. There we go. And then just pop our little extra foliage bits in. Like so. making sure that that isn't stuck down to where you would put your photo. So as you can tell, you can get your photograph underneath. Now this, I just want up the top here, like so. And I will get a small rag to pop in that. Now I know I used a pink brad on the other one, which was a soft pink. So I think I will stick to that brad colour for this. So I'm only going to put a tiny bit of tape on this. Because I have to actually put the photograph on, so I'm just going to attach it to the very end here just to double secure it. Okay, and then I will get my attach my brad. And there we have our next card finished. Now we're finishing our last two 6x6 cards. I have got a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 white photo mat. Which I want over the left hand side. Here we go. Then we will put a doily on, I think for this one, I've just torn it a little bit. I'm going to put this up here and I'll just attach where I've done that tiny little tear so you can't see. I'm just going to butt that up. Okay. Now, with this one, I want just at the very, very top, this little sign here, but I want to be able to attach my photograph underneath. And I've just got some groupings. I've got a square flower that I've cut from one of my sheets, which I think you'll find it will probably be the one in the bottom, like these sheets here. As you can tell, here is one of these. So I'm going to attach this just in the corner to begin with. Now I've got one flower I want just on top. I want one of my tickets. To pop over the top like that. Now with this flower, once again, you have to make sure just like that, so you can get underneath. Now I've finished attaching everything now, and as I said, that is loose, so you can fit your photograph underneath. Now we'll go on to our next card, which is your stripe. And then I have got here a 3 1/4 by 5 3/4 green card, which I've edged. Now, because these run side by side, I am putting the other card over this side to offset them. Like so. I've got my Harlequin card here. Now pop your flowers from the corner. Once again, that is one of these corner flowers here. Okay, so we're going to put our Harlequin card like so. Remember to not stick all the way along.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've put our flower on, a Harlequin. Now I also think I've got this little one here to put on. So we will just attach it for double security. And stick our little brad in again. Double fold them over. And just put a bit of tape on the back to stop them from sticking when you load them into the folder. And there we have our next 2 cards done with the photographs side by side. Now, here is our finished cards, and this is our left-hand side of our album. Now, as I said, I was going to do a fold card, which is the other 2 cards we finished, which are here, like so. So it will look like that when you're actually physically looking at it. Then they will open like so. Now I'm going to show you how to do this flat page to incorporate these two cards here, which of course we have our plastic folder, which is the 4x4. So I have got my plastic folder here for my 4x4s and this extra one. Now how we do this is you cut, it's better, just gone and put my glasses on. Now we cut straight up this line here, just past where they've sealed the hole. Right, so which will give you your extra fold. Now don't ever throw these away, because if you have one of the little heat tools, you can actually put your line up here or make a one that's slightly smaller, so you can actually still use these sleeves. Now what we have here is where you have the fold attachment that goes into where your 3D ring is. Well, we are going to use those as our fins to actually stick them in place. So just fold it through and crease up the center to teach that to fold. Do it both ways. There we are there. So that will teach that to actually fold. Now make sure that you have the opening at the top. It is most important to have that opening at the top there. Now we want this to be folding this way, so I'm really going to enforce that fold. Okay. Opening at the top. Now what we do now is I cut into where the D-ring holder is, in the middle, and cut that middle hole out and cut a nice V, so you end up with a whole piece here. There we go. Okay. So now you need to get your clear tape and put some tape on the front of that fold. Okay, we have got the two pieces that will fold in and tape upwards. Now you must tape towards the cards that you are putting in, because this piece of tape will be attaching to the back of these cards, so that when you go to put another sheet in to the back here, you haven't gummed up the movement of those cards. Okay, here we go. Now, if you didn't have one of these, you could actually do a piece of paper that comes out of this one and into this one and do a fold that way. That actually works. Now, what I do now is I get my knife and I'll put my card in here so I can physically see the edge where I need to cut. I need to level these two up. Very gently, just put a tiny little mark. There we go. So you can see, and you very gently cut down to that hole. Now what you're doing is you're only cutting one side of this plastic. And there we have your slice. And then we repeat this with the next card. Once again, on that white piece of paper, just run your Stanley blade down the white piece of paper so that you'll know that you're not cutting through both sides. And hopefully it cuts easy. By using the piece of white card, you can actually cut through quite easily. Okay. Now, once we have done that, you put your photographs onto your cards and etc. And once your photograph is on here, you have your two cards in the folder here. Then this slides in like so, and then this card slides in, and then you take this tape off here and it causes you to have your fold like so, and then you end up with a fold page like so. And of course the next card that goes in at the back of that quite easily. So I'll show you when it's all finished what it actually does, but I just wanted to show you the technique of actually doing this fold that goes into this folder here. Okay, so the next shot will be of the finished item with my photographs in. here we are, all the photographs have been added, and I have changed a few things around in here. As you can tell, I've actually put my eye candy card up here and moved these photographs over to here, only because these, my daughter-in-law and son, were looking into the page here, whereas if I'd put them here they would have been looking off the page, and that really is not a very good look. I also have finished the fold page, which I've attached to the slits that we made, and this one here you can actually see I haven't attached. So what you do is you just, I'll try and do this one-handed for you, attach to the card through the slit in here, but do not attach to this piece of plastic here, otherwise you won't be able to get your next card to the back in here. So there we have the full complete layout for you. So until next time, please keep well and have a good weekend. Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a few comments for me. I do like to hear from you, and I do have a Facebook group called Project Life Deb's Way group as well. So till next time, thank you. Bye.